After a 1-6 start, and the Warriors already 2-0 in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. They played 2 league games, of course. Stanford the last time out. They won over in Berkeley against Cal, the ACC opener, 89-81. In this zone defense that we'll see Merrimack play all night. And the kick out to Oziyah Sellers. And off 1 foot, the floater rattles and goes, and Stanford with the game's first point.
Well, keep your eyes on Stanford and their attack. You know, they're not going to be satisfied just to jack 3-point shots. They've been there, done that, and it's cost them. They go right inside and see if they can get something inside in the interior.
And that's the goal of this zone for Merrimack is, okay, you look at it, a conventional 2-3 from the top, but then once you initiate your offense, they change and they try to take away the 3 and force you to do things you don't want to do.
Well, they do. They match up out of it. And there you see again, Clark thought he got fouled in the play. But you're right. The defense is designed to keep you on the perimeter and not waste 2 on the ball. There's always going to be one guy that's called hit and recover at the wing. The wing hits there, bounces back inside, and now the guard's responsibility is to hit up and guard, take the basketball. Always one on the ball.
Someone described their zone as the Syracuse 2-3 zone on Red Bull.
I like that.
Shot clock at 5. Oziyah Sellers over to Jaylen Blakes. And a tough challenge 3 by Blakes. And it's 5-0 Cardinal.
He might have got fouled in that too. There was a lot of contact. But you know, Jaylen Blakes, you know, you want a guy at the end of the shot clock that can create. He can create.
The transfer from Duke picks up where he left off over at Haas Pavilion against Cal when he had 20 against the Golden Bears, making a couple of threes. And spread on the floor, Merrimack, and it rattles in a 3 from Brian Itomwu.
Well, that time Maxime Raynaud gave a little bit too much help inside with Cam and couldn't get back out to the corner. I don't think they may have to change that scheme, but you know, Merrimack can do that. They can knock down shots if you give them some openings.
Itomwu, just his 5th three-pointer of the year. And Merrimack as a team just 30% on their threes, and the offensive numbers are not pretty, but that's what they do. And they also control the tempo, make it difficult for you to get in runs. Here's a 3 on the way, and it's too strong, but the long rebound run down by Devin Savage for Merrimack. Just their 6th year as a Division I foe. And there is Bud Clark in the lane to tie the game at 5.
Well, they're not a stranger, though, to success, Roxy. So when you're successful, it always makes transitions into the next upper level better and easier.
Ryan Agarwal thought about it. Jaylen Blakes launches, and a 3 for Blakes.
Well, he's not hesitating, Roxy. If you watch Jaylen Blakes early in the year, you know, he'd hesitate on that shot. He already has a little bit of a hitch, but you don't want a hesitation and a hitch. And he's knocking those shots down now.
Sean Trumper way off on the 3, and Stanford controls. Kyle Smith and the Cardinal off to an 8-2 start, the best record for Stanford to start a season since 2019-2020 when they began the year 15-2. Aiden Kamen moves in. The drop off, Maxime Raynaud with his first points of the night.
Yeah, nice post-to-post delivery there. Kamen with a good drive. And obviously finding Raynaud. If you can find Raynaud, that's a pretty good target.
He's not hard to find considering he's 7'1".
No, but he makes himself available too, and a lot of guys don't. He presents himself, he gets to the seams on the, you know, against the defense, and that's important.
Shot clock at 10. Bud Clark rattles in a 3.
Yeah, can't go underneath the screen against Clark. If you do, he will do just what he did. He'll bury you.
He averages just under 20 points per game, 5 assists a game. So everything for Merrimack runs through Bud Clark, but Jaylen Blakes off to a good start for the Cardinal. After a 10-day layoff, Stanford back at it, up 2. Well, the Stanford win back on December 7th over at Cal. The Cardinal with 13 block shots, 5 back by Maxime Raynaud in that game. But 13 blocks for Stanford defensively.
Yeah, that was a great defensive effort. I mean, Cal's a tough team to guard, Roxy. They're explosive offensively. Cal went in there, and Stanford went in there and I think held their own and more, and then some. And the blocks helped. That gets you going in transition, and it's tough because Cal has some guys that can finish.
Stanford put up 89 points, shot 53% with those 13 blocks, made 11 of 23 from 3 as Merrimack had a clean look from 3, as Brian Itumnu missing from deep and Stanford controls. And the Cardinal a little bit short-handed in this game tonight. A couple of key guards out for Kyle Smith as a foul. The roll counted, Aiden Kamen, and 1 for the Cardinal.
Yeah, how about Maxime Raynaud returning the favor, finding his his partner in crime down there, and just went post to post, short corner to dive. That's a dive, post dive, we call it. That's a great look from Kamen to know where to be against the zone.
Kamen now 5 for 10 from the line this year, could not convert on the and 1. As the foul for Merrimack was called on Armandis Plantauskis, the junior from Lithuania, the transfer from Northern Illinois. Spread the floor and launching a 3, too strong for Matt Becht. And Stanford limits 1 shot and out. And Stanford playing without Benny Gieler tonight. He is battling an illness. Stanford hoping they'll have him on Saturday, when the Cardinal will take on Oregon down in San Jose. And a travel on Maxime Raynaud, and a turnover by Stanford. And also out tonight for the Cardinal is Darren Saran.
Yeah, you know, that's a big loss if you're playing against a team, Roxy, as Merrimack playing a zone, because those are 2 guys that can really knock down shots. Gieler shooting pretty close to 40% from 3, 94 from the line, and you got Saran that's also a really big-time three-point shooter. So you're playing without 2 of your best shooters.
Both on the bench, and Saran dealing with a leg injury. He's day-to-day as well, as a lob too high for Brian Itumnu. And a turnover committed by Merrimack. But Stanford, there's a look at the 2 guards, Gieler on the left, Saran on the right. And Stanford is 5 for 5 from the floor to start the game. Chisholm Akpara moving in. And that's the first miss from the field for Stanford. Here comes Bud Clark for Merrimack. Darts into the key, has his shot blocked by Jaylen Blakes. First block for Stanford in this one. Oziyah Sellers. Merrimack quickly gets out on shooters, and the foul in the drive, Matt Becht with the body. That's the first on the senior from Vienna, Virginia, the transfer from Southern New Hampshire University.
So you can see Stanford's got some size. They're utilizing it inside. Hard to go over the top of 2 7-footers. Now they got an Agarwal who's also pretty long and lengthy. It's tough when you're trying to go against those guys, and you put Okpara in there, and those are 3 pretty good guys along the front line.
In the zone from Merrimack, they're going to stay in this all night. And you know what to expect when you play in Merrimack. The good ball fake, and Maxime Raynaud rattles out. And the rebound, Maxime Raynaud gets it again. And there's the touch from the 7-1, Maxime Raynaud.
Yeah, he's got money. That's a money shot for him. He goes over his shoulder, and I don't care right hand, left hand. He's really lethal with that. He gets second chance opportunities. That's going to be trouble for Merrimack.
Largest lead for the Cardinal. And there's a bump on Blakes. The first foul against Jaylen Blakes. And the first whistled against Stanford.
Well, watch Raynaud. You can see, you know, he misses the first, but he gets a second chance opportunity, and he's just so good going over his shoulder, either one, left or right.
First appearance tonight for the Cardinal for Evan Stinson, the freshman from Cheney, Washington. Sean Trumper spinning down low. Wild shot off balance. And I promise there'll be no political references tonight.
I hope not. I hope not.
I'm just pointing that out early.
I hope not.
Because clearly we're the first people to ever think of doing it.
Yeah.
Pull up by Jaylen Blakes, who's feeling it. Blakes already with 8. And the Cardinal have doubled up Merrimack.
Well, it's been really, I think, a great attack by Stanford. They're playing against a zone that's pretty unusual. They haven't faced this kind of zone all year, and they're doing a nice job.
6-0 run for the Cardinal. Bud Clark missing the pull-up, and Jaylen Blakes a defensive rebound. And from deep, Oziyah Sellers, and a timeout for Merrimack at Stanford on a 9-0 run. They're up 11, and they're 8 for 10 from the floor.
Well, you want to beat a zone, Roxy? Beat the zone in transition. That's just what Stanford did. They beat the zone before setup. And how about Oziyah Sellers with a big three? I thought he said you got 30 seconds.
No, 30-second floater.
Oh, the hell I know what a floater is.
Yeah.
Come on, Roxy, help.
Red hot start for the Cardinals. Stanford 8 of 10 from the field. Have hit all 3 threes. Jaylen Blakes with 8 points, 4 rebounds. He's 2 for 2 outside the arc. And the Cardinal on a 9-0 run. Stanford leading Merrimack now 19-8.
Well, we're going to break, Roxy. We talked about it, and Stanford not hesitating to getting a shot up before the zone gets set up. Excellent strategy by the Cardinals.
This will be an interesting point of the game as Jaylen Blakes is out. As the floater high off the window and in from Malik Edmead. With the pink shoes to go along with that pretty move and a 19-10 lead for Stanford.
I like to press back to zone. That's actually good strategy. Try to shorten the clock. Don't let Stanford get a lot of good looks.
But it's an interesting time because Jaylen Blakes is on the bench and Stanford does not have a point guard out there on the floor. And Blake's really the only point guard available tonight for Kyle Smith. But Ryan Agarwal says, I can be your point guard.
Well, it was Sellers that initiated, and I thought Oziyah Sellers, can do that. He's shown his ability to distribute as well as score. He's a very unselfish player.
Well, Blake's really the only point guard for Stanford tonight. With Darren Saran and Benny Gieler not available, you could see some Anthony Batson Jr. at some point in that role. As down the lane, and a foul that will get David Murray to the line for Merrimack.
And Rox, this is a scrappy team from Merrimack. You can see they're not afraid to attack. They're smaller, but they're not afraid to get into the paint, just kind of attack you a little bit. They're pesky and they're aggressive.
2 shots for David Murray, the senior from Jackson Heights, New York. And it spins out for Murray. He's now 5 for 8 from the line this year. As Murray, a transfer from Division III Connecticut College, where he was a standout at the D3 level, and now coming up to play for Merrimack. And Joe Gallo, an interesting usage of the portal, where he lost his top player from a year ago to the portal, but then he raided D2 and D3 to get some talent to replenish the roster.
Yeah, and Roxy, a lot of coaches around the country are doing that. There's some awfully good players at Division II and Division III that got overlooked that can definitely help programs at the Division I level.
And his top player from last year, Jordan Durkak, transferred to Rutgers, and Durkak last year was the Northeast Conference Player and Defensive Player of the Year. Is Chisholm Okpara inside for the Cardinal.
Joe Gallo wanted to charge against Okpara, didn't get it.
And a foul will get David Murray to the line again for Merrimack. And the Cardinal foul is called on Talis Toure, the freshman.
Yeah, good call, good play on. I think the officials did a good job on that particular possession. But, you know, every possession down, you see Stanford putting the ball in the high post, Roxy.
One more for David Murray. But Merrimack, it's their first year in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, the MAAC. Not to be confused with the MAC.
That's right.
This is the MAC.
Right, you got to exaggerate that.
Accentuate the second.
That's right, but no, this is interesting.
An attack in the press that'll send Talis Toure to the line for Stanford.
Well, you know, Roxy, in this day, here you can see the replay here that I like Stanford going to the rack in transition. That's what you have to do against a team that's pressing. If all you do is you're content to get the ball across the 10-second line against a pressing team, they'll press you every second of the game. You got to be aggressive.
One more for Toure, 6'11" freshman from near Sacramento and Roseville. As Toure, who originally committed to Kyle Smith to go to Washington State, then when Kyle took the Stanford job, Toure followed him to the farm, and he goes 1 for 2 from the line.
Now, good-looking freshman, really has a bright future ahead of him.
But the last couple of years, Merrimack was in the NEC, and they made the transition from Division II to Division I, and they had that 4-year probationary period where you were ineligible for the NCAA tournament. This is the second year they are eligible to go after that 4-year waiting period, and they won back-to-back NEC titles. Malik Edmond, the kick out. Did they beat the shot clock? No. Ty Dorsett too late, and that'll go as a turnover for Merrimack. And a Stanford ball with the Cardinal up 13. An impressive start considering Stanford took a 10-day break for finals. They had to try to craft some schedule to be able to practice, and sometimes they had to do it in small groups, couldn't practice the whole team at times during finals week. And so to come back out and off to a hot start, because you never know what to expect. And you went through it as a coach, as Jaylen Blakes spots up for 3 and drains another. Third 3 for Blakes, he has 11.
I think Jaylen Blakes likes finals, Roxy. I mean, he's knocking them down.
He's the one.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to mind. But Roxy, look, we were at Cal, and if you're at Cal and Stanford, there's finals and then there's finals. It's a little bit different look, and so you got to really, you're putting your nose in the books, and you're going to be up for many hours.
How anxious were you when you came back after an extended break like Kyle Smith is doing now, when you're off for a week, 10 days, and you can't really practice full, and trying to get the team to focus after finals?
Well, here's Jaylen Blakes focusing, by the way, but you just want to get there. You know you're not going to get your whole team. We didn't have very many team practices. We had assistant coaches working out players, and we might have some get-togethers and some shoot-arounds and maybe walkthroughs. But your finals going all day, and you're very very pressed to get your team together on a consistent basis.
Stanford foul was on Ryan Agarwal. Stanford has come out focused tonight. Nice pass, Bud Clark fighting Ty Dorsett in the lane. And the rebound bounces into the Stanford bench, and it belongs to the Cardinal.
Well, Adam Clark's a problem. I mean, he's just, you don't contain him with one. You're going to have to put a second defender, and when you do, he's pretty good at finding guys. So if Merrimack can start knocking some of these shots down, they can give Stanford some problem. But, you know, they've been on the road a while, too.
And they're in the Bay Area for a couple of games. They'll play at St. Mary's on Thursday. That pops out for Oziyah Sellers. And Maxime Raynaud tries to tip it. And loose ball tracked down. Here comes Bud Clark racing up the floor. And a double dribble.
Yeah, he picked his dribble up, and he knows it. He's looking to make a pass. He's in transition. Boy, there it is. And you know, it happens when the ball's in your hands a lot. Guys that handle the ball, Roxy, are going to have more turnovers, but I can assure you he'll get more assists on the year than turnovers. He's a heck of a basketball player.
Last year, Merrimack tied for first in the NEC. They went 21-12 last year. Were the NEC regular season champs in 2023, as well as Ryan Agarwal launches a three, and the rebound, Devin Savage comes away with it for Merrimack. And the quick burst and a foul before the shot as Bud Clark skipping into the key.
Oh, no, this is just a really, watch the jabs, Roxy. This is just textbook. You know, he jabs to get you to move back, and then as you come back and recover off the jab, he attacks you again. That's really textbook triple threat play.
Second on Ryan Agarwal. And for Stanford, their fifth team foul. Here with 8:19 left in the first half.
Well, Stanford would like to keep this lead, Roxy. They've let some leads up this year, which have cost them, but they've got a nice, comfortable lead. They'd like to keep it going.
And a three missed by Devin Savage. Here comes Stanford again. And a kick, and they'll put the shot clock back at 20 for the Cardinal with 8:02 left in the half. But so Merrimack, after that 1-6 start, played a pretty tough schedule. When you look at, they lost games at VCU, Princeton, who's the favorite in the Ivy League, at Rutgers. They went to Butler and took on Thad Matta's team, at UTSA, but they've won 4 in a row. Beat Troy on the road, Canisius on the road, at Niagara, and then also a victory against Boston University.
Yeah, and I think it's the schedule, Roxy, that enabled them to do that, playing those tough teams. They were able to, you know, get a tough couple challenge games in there, and now they toughened up.
Well, Clark had it slip out of his hands.
And he looked at his hands like, hands don't fail me now.
They just did.
Yeah.
Ryan Agarwal penetrates. And Maxime Raynaud has it stripped, still 10 to shoot. Anthony Batson Jr., the freshman of the game, finds Oziyah Sellers for three.
Oziyah Sellers, Roxy, we said this earlier, an unselfish player, but if you give him the opportunity to score, he'll take it. He can put the ball in the basket. He can fill it up.
31-12, Stanford on a 7-0 run now. They are 6 for 8 from three and overall shooting 67% from the floor. And Merrimack on the other end, just 25% shooting. It is all Stanford so far tonight. Maxime Raynaud spots up in the corner, and the rebound pulled down by Brian Itomnu. And driving to the bucket, Bud Clark the lay-in.
How about that sleight of hand, Roxy? He gets knocked, holds the ball in his hands, dips it, and then sticks it back off the glass with his left. He's an awfully tricky player in transition.
He has 7 of Merrimack's 14. Ryan Agarwal again from deep. In and out. And the rebound knocked around, and it's grabbed by Bud Clark from Merrimack. And this, you look at the numbers in Merrimack, one of their problems is they're a horrible rebounding team. And a foul on a three will send Matt Beck to the line for Merrimack, and that's the third on Ryan Agarwal. Oziyah Sellers at Stanford, filling it up from long range and up big on Merrimack.
Well, watch Jaylen Blakes, Roxy. I mean, he's really putting the ball in the basket. He's a 25% three-point shooter on the year, but he's really knocking shots down. You can see his release. He's really elevating. He's getting the hand up under the ball, pushing it up in the air. He's not, he's not shooting it across his body. He's really improved, I think, his technique. He's been on fire since the Cal game. Had a big shooting game there in his big win over Cal, road win. And you see tonight, 3 out of 3 from the three-point line, 4 for 5 from the floor. He's really stepping up his offensive performance.
Matt Becht at the line shooting 3. And during the timeout, they corrected a foul. So Ryan Agarwal now with 2 fouls, and Tallis Toure also with 2 for Stanford. Becht, an 85% foul shooter. In his 7th season of college basketball, he played 2 years at Mount St. Mary's, but played just a total of 9 games. Then last 4 years at Southern New Hampshire University, a Division II school, where he was first team all Northeast 10 conference. And then Becht transferring to Merrimack for his last year of college competition.
Well, that's something, that's a story. You see more and more of that, by the way, in collegiate basketball. Guys getting the 6th year.
And a steal for Merrimack. Sean Trumper took it away. A 14-point lead for Stanford. The lead has been as large as 19. And an errant pass from Becht. It goes out of bounds as Devin Savage can't track it down. And a turnover by Merrimack. That's their 6th. And a team that turns it over fewer than 10 times a game.
No, that's uncharacteristic. Just really an unforced turnover, too. Unfortunate for Merrimack.
And that's where these two teams are similar, as Stanford also takes really good care of the ball, as Oziyah Sellers in the corner, a 3. But Stanford, right now, 19th in the country in fewest turnovers a game.
Well, they're really efficient, and that's important. You don't want to play giveaway basketball.
On the drive, it's Becht. And relocating for a 3, it rattles in for Devin Savage.
Well, that was pretty good defense by Stanford. Nonetheless, Merrimack found a seam and found a way to score.
First points for Savage, a transfer from James Madison. Savage in his 3rd year at Merrimack after playing his freshman year at James Madison. And Maxime Raynaud will get to the line. A foul committed by Merrimack, and it's on Devin Savage.
Well, that's a good sign for Stanford. Watch Okpara get in the paint. He's had some problems earlier in this year, but now he's distributing in there and finding guys. He's so good at getting by his defender and attacking the basket. Sometimes you got to drop off.
Raynaud 69% from the line. And coming into tonight, Maxime Raynaud, 8th in the country in scoring, 5th in rebounding, averaging over 22 points per game and more than 11 rebounds a game.
Well, his stats are impressive, but just really is his versatility for me, Roxy, as an NBA potential player. He can do some things a lot of big guys can't do. He's very versatile.
He also leads the country with 8 double-doubles. As it's stripped, and a steal, here comes Chisholm Okpara up the floor. And he glides in, and Okpara in transition lays it in.
That's an unfortunate run now for Merrimack to give up this run to Stanford.
Left open. And a 3 is drained from the corner by Armandus Plantowskis.
Now Stanford opening up with their biggest lead. Big basket for Merrimack.
And a travel, and Stanford a turnover. The 5th on the Cardinal, 3:56 left in the half. Stanford's made 7 threes. They're up 14. Joe Gallo and Merrimack coming out west to take on the Cardinal tonight. And some of the particulars on the Merrimack Warriors. We talked about the transition from Division II to Division I, their second full season as a full-fledged member, where they are NCAA tournament eligible, Merrimack. And one of my favorite little nuggets about Merrimack, as a three rattled in by Matt Becht, a one-time student at Merrimack, Carl Yastrzemski, the Hall of Famer.
Wow.
Now, he didn't play baseball for Merrimack, but he did it. Took some classes at Merrimack working toward his degree. Shot clock inside 10. Oziyah Sellers spots up, left open in the corner, the miss. Sean Trumper the rebound for Merrimack. And a corner three that's short from Armandus Plantauskas. And inside 3 minutes to go in the half, Stanford with a double-digit lead despite the 6-0 run by the Warriors. And a reach in, and the foul committed by Merrimack. It is team foul number 5.
Yes, you can see this. Watch the entry pass. You have to go underneath the defense, Tom Davis style, going underneath the defense with the hands of the zone, usually up in the air. You get to come underneath, and then the seam of the zone, high post, really a tough cover for all zones.
Ryan Etumnu called for the foul. And the nice lob over the top, but Akpara can't finish off the Raynaud feed, but then Jaylen Blakes takes it right back.
Highway robbery, Rocks. You can't put a ball in his eyes. And what a great move by Sellers to finish here. And you know, Stanford was threatening here by Merrimack to get, decrease their lead into single digits. Now they pushed it back up right before the half.
13 for Oziyah Sellers. The lead is 13. Bud Clark weaves his way in. Five to shoot. Malik Edmead, a deep three. And Stanford all over the glass, and a foul going for the rebound, and it's on Merrimack, and the second on Armandus Plantauskas.
Very good box out position by the Cardinal. You can see there it's tough to get a second look against the Cardinal when they're playing big inside.
And it's last touch by Stanford, the Cardinal a turnover.
That's the first time, Roxy, they didn't really enter the ball inside the zone. They didn't penetrate it. They were content to play on the perimeter. Zones like when you do that.
And that was something they were working on consistently at shoot-around today, is the ball movement and getting it in and out, because Merrimack, again, they invite that pass in, but then they fan out. And they get in passing lanes, and they are in areas where you don't necessarily expect them.
No, that's a good point. I think that the key on the zone is once you've penetrated the zone, now you got to get to some spots. You got to get in the vision of your teammate that caught the ball. You can't hide on him. You got to get deeper, lower on the floor, which is corners, wings, or even at the rim. I think the biggest thing is just to go post to post, high post, low post. Start there. If they pinch down, now you got wide open shots at the wing.
Chisholm Akpara, the foul, is Sean Trumper, the native of Ashford, England. Makes the first free throw. One more coming for Trumper, a Division II standout at Franklin Pierce before transferring to Merrimack, and he hits both free throws. Leading rebounder on this Warrior team. Down 19. Merrimack has trimmed it to 11. They would love to have it single digits at half.
Yeah, that would be a psychological lift if they could get it there.
Akpara in the key. And he's out of bounds, and it goes to Merrimack. He had another good look, but just couldn't cash in.
Well, yeah, I think they're pressing a little bit, Roxy. The ball's going into the high post. Once it goes in there, they're pinching down, so you've got to fan it from there. You got to go high post, back maybe to the wing. I mean, there's openings in there because there's going to be a guy playing underneath you. Your guards are digging from the sides. So you've got 2-3 guys around you. Somebody's open.
Quick dart to the basket. But blowing the layup was Malik Edmead, and Stanford with the rebound.
Well, it's pretty easy to blow a layup when you got Raynaud kind of hiding out at 7-1 at the rim. So Cardinal now can play. They can go 2 for 1 if they want.
And again, that high-low, and they blocked the shot of Tallis Toure as David Murray with the rejection.
And for Stanford, number 33, Evan Stinson.
Just when you think you've got that layup, they come over and collapse on you.
Yeah, the Wings are really cheating up for Merrimack.
Nice job on the baseline, but David Murray blocks the shot of Evan Stinson. Shot clock winding down on the Cardinal. And Stinson launches, and the rebound grabbed by Sean Trumper for Merrimack. Well, a chance to get it to single digits, and they can play for the last shot of the half.
And you mentioned that, Roxy, that what a psychological lift that will be for Merrimack just to get it under double digits. And if they can, psychologically, that's a big lift going in the locker room at halftime.
5 seconds. Bud Clark. Tough fadeaway on the baseline for Clark. Takes us to halftime. And it is a single-digit game. The Stanford lead is 9. It was 19.
Yeah, shot or drive by Akbar, and we're trying to cheat the offensive rebound.
Off a screen and a 3, and the stroke from Matt Becht. And Merrimack has cut it all the way down to 6.
Well, how about that play coming out of the locker room, Roxy? That was a design play to get one of their top shooters a look, and that was not an easy shot, but he drained it.
Becht, 73 field goal attempts this season, 66 are threes. That's what he does. He's basically a spot-up three-point shooter, and now one and done, and here comes Merrimack.
That's a big, you know, you want to not match baskets, you want to get some stops here, but that's easier said than done against this team. And look at the drive. I mean, I don't know how you defend Bud Clark, and you know what? I think Kyle Smith's saying the same thing because he just burned a timeout to discuss it.
4-point game. Merrimack right back in it on the farm. Well, quick 5-0 spurt, and Merrimack has cut it to 4 here early in the second half.
Yeah, and Bud Clark's had a lot to do with that, Roxy. I said he was a problem in the first half. He's a problem in the second half, and Kyle Smith had to burn a timeout to devise a way to, if not stop him, slow him down.
The 5'10" they listed, Matt, which is generous. The sophomore from Philly was the NEC Rookie of the Year last year. And he is the catalyst for everything for Merrimack as Ryan Agarwal in and out on the 3. And the rebound and falling out of bounds with the basketball was Brian Itumnu. And it'll stay at this end and a Stanford ball.
Well, that's a break for Stanford because right there, you know, that was going to be a let's go the other way and chance to cut it to a 1-possession game.
And the deflection, the hands in there from Sean Trumper.
Yeah, very active hands. The zone, you know, you've got 10 hands in the passing lane. You got to know that. Shot fake, ball fake. Try to move the hands in the direction different for where you want the basketball to go.
Here's Bud Clark on the go. Sean Trumper. And he throws it away and a steal. Here comes Oziyah Sellers for Stanford. He darts all the way to the basket.
You know, Roxy, that's what you have to do sometimes. You get a turnover. Don't just be satisfied to collect a loose ball. Go in the other direction. Most of the times, defensive or offensive teams are not they're not in position to defend in transition.
Loose ball and Jaylen Blakes knocks it away. Headmans for Sellers.
Now, there's good turnovers and bad turnovers, Roxy. Those are 2 bad turnovers because they've led direct scores for Stanford.
And some momentum for the Cardinal again as they push the lead out to 8. Bud Clark penetrates. Sean Trumper gets the roll.
I think
His first field goal of the night.
And I think you're going to see the ball in Clark's hands a little bit more. You're going to trust him to make those plays.
Every time down,
yeah.
If I'm Joe Gallo.
Yeah, he's not taking a chance and play giveaway with Stanford because that's gotten them right back in the game, Stanford, with that lead.
And there's a foul inside before Maxime Raynaud was able to gather and go up.
Look at the pass. I mean, it didn't stick in Blake's hand. That's a great look. It's like a down and out, or I mean, it's a goal line, a goalpost run. And, you know, Sellers is pretty good in transition. He's really a player that is explosive.
Second foul on Brian Itumnu. Maxime Raynaud trying to find the soft spot in the zone. Ryan Agarwal keeps it alive on the offensive end. Knocked out of bounds by Sean Trumper. 12 on the timer for Stanford.
Yeah, very pesky zone by Merrimack. They're really getting after you. They're getting deflections. They're making it tough for Stanford.
This is what they do all the time. They play this zone, and they do it well.
Hitting and recovering at the wing.
Long 3, Jaylen Blakes from way outside.
Well, he's looking up in the air like, where's this been all year? But he's done that the last couple games. He has been on fire. He's given his team big shots and increased this lead with the 3-point dagger.
14 for Blakes. And the jumper, Bud Clark from Merrimack.
And he wanted a little and one action, didn't get it, but he was asking the officials.
And at times he's a reluctant shooter. And Merrimack trying to get him to shoot the ball a little bit more. Blakes on the pull-up. And there is Bud Clark pushing it for Merrimack. Devin Savage, transition 3, and the rebound grab by Ryan Agarwal for the Cardinal.
Yeah, okay with that shot. You're going to try to beat Stanford in transition. Not a bad move. Just didn't pull the trigger. Didn't give it a good follow through. Maxime Raynaud begging for the ball on the block. He's got a mismatch down on the block.
And Sean Trumper claims the miss. Here comes Merrimack. Way behind the line. Matt Becht, 3.
I don't think there's any defense for that, Roxy. You're at the hash mark, what used to be the old hash mark, the Tara Vanderveer mark now. he shot it from her logo.
He's tied his season high with 12. Lob over the top for Maxime Raynaud. And he is fouled. Will get to the line, but couldn't get the chippy to go.
Jaylen Blakes lighting it up, knocking down threes. He can deliver. Big time shot, but not to be outdone. Back for three. We got a tight one. Roxy, we talked about the hash mark. I was wrong. That was not at the hash mark. That was behind the hash mark at Tara Vanderveer. Look at that shot. I mean, that's just a big-time three-point shot. No hesitation, and his teammate knew it because he dropped off the dime and said, let it go. So if you're Stanford, you've got to talk about getting out to the shooters, and Merrimack has a couple guys that can nail it from deep.
One more for Maxime Raynaud. It's just 6 points tonight. Raynaud's 2 for 6 from the floor, now 2 for 3 from the line.
And he started the game with a couple of good looks. When he's active, Roxy, and he's in the game, Stanford's a different team, and I think you can watch for Maxime to get more involved and kind of take over at points. He's got to get aggressive for the Cardinal. Now Stanford playing a little bit of zone of their own, it looks like.
Bud Clark, maybe he was too open that time.
Yeah, no, there's nobody within 10 feet of him. Just didn't knock it down. Yeah, there's that hit and recover at the wing.
Shot clock inside 10. Ryan Agarwal. Jaylen Blakes. Tough fadeaway shot. And that'll be a shot clock violation. Stanford a turnover. And again, the zone from Merrimack posing problems for Stanford.
Yeah, outstanding possession by Merrimack. They really hit on and recovered at the wing. They don't want their wings to hit and stick. as we say, out on the wing. They want them back inside to help on rebounding and help challenge Stanford's size, and then the guards are then taking over. So good communication, good one on the ball coverage.
Quickness of Bud Clark. And Maxime Raynaud rips it down for the Cardinal.
Yeah, it's tough sledding in there with all the trees. But here's that zone again. They're just trying to keep Stanford on the perimeter and challenge up.
Chisholm Okpara powering his way up, and a foul.
Well, again,
and two shots for Okpara.
Yeah, the high post entry, Roxy, have gone back to that. You start with entries, you put the ball on the floor. They have a high-low, as you can see, with Raynaud, and they also have to cover Okpara, who's a load in there. He's strong. He, you know, in the Ivy League, he got to the free throw line for Harvard. That was something he did very well.
Second foul on David Murray. Okpara 65% from the line. 5 off the bench now for Chisholm Okpara. And one more shot coming. He's come off the bench now the last 5 games for Kyle Smith, as Okpara started the previous 4. Came off the bench the first 2 games this season. 26 starts over his 2 years at Harvard for Okpara. And he hits both free throws, and the Stanford lead is now 7.
Well, Stanford now looking to try to talk, communicate, play a little zone of their own. A little bit of a 2-3 matchup. I like it.
Murray missing down low, and the rebound, Maxime Raynaud, his 9th.
Yeah, good possession for Stanford. The changeup I thought was effective.
But Okpara, or rather, Bud Clark, I should say, for Merrimack, as Okpara way off on that shot. But he's just so quick and get to wherever he wants on the floor with the ball.
Yeah, that's the one thing, though, that I think Merrimack's going to do is allow him to shoot that ball.
And the runner, it falls off for Malik Edby, but kept alive by the Warriors. On the drive on the baseline, and the roll for Armandis Plantauskas.
Yeah, and Kyle Smith just really not happy with that sequence. The turnover and then the give up of the basket.
And a foul, and it's on Bud Clark for the whack across the wrist of Evan Stinson. The second foul on Bud Clark.
Yeah, you can see it there.
Force the errant pass. Deflected, and it's off of Merrimack, and it stays with Stanford.
A good break for Stanford. That was hopefully a deflection, but I think Kyle Smith wants the ball to go in and out a little quicker. You don't want to hold in the low post. It gets in, it gets out. You got to make people move against the zone. And when Stanford was doing that, they were very effective.
On the baseline, Oziyah Sellers glides in.
Yeah, and that's been the X factor. He's been the X factor for Stanford. He moves so well without the ball. He's tough to the rim, knocks down threes. He's really good at finding the seams and moving to create some passing angles and passing options.
Leads all scorers with 19. Bud Clark over the 7-1 Maxime Raynaud.
Yeah, that's just really tough basketball, getting your own shot against a 7'1" player like Maxime Raynaud. A lot of players cannot do that.
Raynaud gets the flyby. And Chisholm Okpara will get to the line.
And I think Kyle Smith pretty happy that Okpara grabbed that offensive rebound.
That was a pass.
Yeah,
he was looking for Okpara.
We'll talk about it at the break, Rex.
Well, Bud Clark in the middle of everything for Merrimack, and he's the reason they're in this game.
Well, he's an outstanding player, Roxy. We talk about players and their ability to create their own shot. He can do that. He gets you on your heels, and if you're sitting back on your heels, he'll pull up, fade away, and score it. You know, interestingly, on the other side now from Clark, you've got Oziyah Sellers, who's really carrying this Stanford team with 19 and Blakes with 14. Maxime Raynaud kind of quiet with 6 offensively, but he's got 9 rebounds, and he's done a heck of a job affecting some defensive challenges for Stanford, as Merrimack only shooting 36% for the floor for the game.
Akpara now 2 for 3 from the line. Bud Clark on the bench right now for Merrimack, just picked up his 3rd foul.
Yeah, he won't be there long, Roxy. I know TV timeout or no TV timeout, he's too good a player to sit there, and you know, he'll get a little bit of a rest, but I don't think he'll be there long. Here's Stanford playing that 2-3 zone now. They're matching up and creating the turnover, 2nd time in a row.
Evan Stinson in transition. Misses the layup, and the rebound pulled down. Ty Dorsett for Merrimack. Malik Edmead, and he draws the foul. Will get to the line.
Well, Roxy, that's a good possession for Merrimack, but you know, not a great possession for Stanford. They didn't get back in transition. They've got to hustle back, and they were really just didn't get back with numbers. And Merrimack's taking advantage of that, trying to cut this to another 2-possession game.
2nd foul on Jaylen Blakes. Malik Edmead, an interesting story. As Edmead, the native of Deer Park, New York, played his first 2 years for Merrimack. His freshman year, he was a member of the NEC All-Rookie team. Then transferred and played a year at Albany, came back to Merrimack, redshirted last year, and is playing this year for Joe Gallo.
This proves there's no place like home. Sometimes, you know, grass isn't always greener. Well, here's that zone. Raynaud and Okpara trying to screen off those guards, those pesky guards to the top, see if they can get them drag, screen, and see if they can get rid of them, just dump them off somewhere.
And the foul, Devin Savage violating the cylinder of Chisholm Akpara, and it's the 2nd on Devin Savage.
He violated more than the cylinder, Rox. I think he got a piece of his chin, his mouth, and his ears. I mean, that's a pretty good physical pop right there. And
I was just being kind.
Yeah, Akpara is bringing that attention to the officials, by the way. There is a rule about making contact in the head area, so maybe not a bad point to bring up to the officials.
Maxime Raynaud left open in the corner, and Raynaud drains a 3.
Well, he told his student section, don't forget about me. I can still fill it from 3. I know I haven't been a little quiet tonight, but he's done that all year long, Roxy. He's been a real threat from there.
40% on his 3s.
Yeah, it's a great percentage for a 7-footer, period. End of story.
Stanford 9 for 17 outside the arc, and now the defensive play, Raynaud blocks the shot. Jaylen Blakes pushes. Chisholm Akpara powers it up and in. Timeout, Merrimack, and Stanford has pushed the lead back to double digits.
Yeah, great sequence for Stanford. First, the Raynaud 3, then the block, and then Akpara doing what he does, attacking. I mean, just great basketball, but watch the play. Not a great pass for Maxime, but he picks it up off his shoe tops and drains it. I mean, just nothing but net. That's what he does, letting the fans know, hey, I'm back. That's me. I can do this. But how about Akpara, too? He just gets into the paint, and he goes right up. He's too strong. You're not going to stop him with one, and he just finishes. That's a good sign for Stanford. So if you're Merrimack, Roxy, you got to go back now, and you can't turn it over. You know you can't go over the top of Raynaud to get those scores. So you're going to have to try to find some scores. And you know what? Guess who's back in the game? That's the immediate solving of a problem. You get your best player, and maybe the guy that's been the toughest guy to guard on the floor tonight, and Bud Clark, you get him back on the floor.
Stanford goes on a little mini run, and Joe Gallo puts Bud Clark back in the game for Merrimack.
Yeah, well, he's playing 36, 37 minutes a game. He only needs a couple minutes, but they can't play without him. He's too good.
Here he is. And he gets the soft roll.
Well, he's not supposed to get the bounce at Stanford, is he? I mean, he's playing the rims too. What isn't he doing today? That's
17 for Clark.
Yeah, he's so steady. Now, here's that zone, but you see Stanford's trying to screen it a little bit. I like that they're bringing their bigs out there and trying to create a little space and pick those guards off, the pesky guards.
Ryan Agarwal. Maxime Raynaud fouled on a putback.
Oh, that's what Maxime Raynaud's done, Roxy, when he's been active. He doesn't, he's maybe not scoring, but he gets to the rim, and you just can't keep him off. He's so aggressive when he does that. He's effective. And I know Stanford would love to see him do more of it, but Cal Smith, again, on the sideline, just really hoping his team can just put a run together. Haven't been able to sustain it, but give Merrimack credit. They've done a good job of fighting back every time Stanford takes a lead.
One more for Maxime Raynaud. First foul on Sean Trumper, and Raynaud, another double-double now, 10 points, 11 rebounds. And for Maxime Raynaud, that's 9 double-doubles in Stanford's 11 games.
Yeah, that's getting it done. Well, if you're obviously Stanford, how do you stop or slow down Bud Clark? And the answer is you probably can't stop him. Maybe you can't slow him down, but you can get the ball out of his hands. You can get big guys on him, 2 on the ball. Do something to disrupt him. Don't let him beat you one-on-one. He's too good.
And a push. That's on Oziyah Sellers, his second foul.
That's a clever cut there. The ball handler had picked up his dribble. It's a no-no, but his teammate helped him out by basket cutting. That's a really effective way to beat pressure.
Just the second team foul on Stanford in the second half.
Well, they can play aggressive now.
Sean Trumper, and he bowls over Ryan Agarwal, and a foul is called on Stanford.
Well, I don't think Kyle Smith's going to like that call, Roxy, because A, there was some contact on the charge, and B, there was a little bit of stumbling, maybe even a travel. So Kyle Smith's not happy about that, or he stepped on his foot. I don't know if you can call that a foul, but
so it wasn't the block on Agarwal's third foul. It was when he was down, he kicked his leg out and made contact with Trumper.
Yeah,
that's what the foul was.
Yeah, good eyes, Rox. Maybe we need a fourth official.
No, she handled it.
Yeah.
Right there, the foot.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree that he kicked it out. You and I can agree to disagree.
Oh, I'm not saying I agree with the call. I'm just saying that's why the foul was called.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that was the case. But and then nonetheless, Merrimack with a break to get the free throws on what could have been an empty possession. So we're actually, again, this is just pretty much a 3-possession game. Merrimack keeping it close.
But I also point out, I didn't say I disagreed with the call either.
I like that.
I'm playing the neutral party here. Well, Trumper was involved.
Yes.
Stanford with a turnover.
And that's hard to do. I'll leave it at that. By the way, you didn't know there were Trumpers in England, did you? You do now.
I do now.
Well, if you're Stanford, you need to stop, and you have to. It starts with Clark. How do you disrupt him? How do you keep him from hurting you and breaking your defense down? He's really clever.
A step back. Bud Clark again.
Well, he likes the contact, Roxy. And again, one-on-one, I don't know that you can do a lot. And you can put a bigger guy on him, but what he does, he steps back, creates space. That's what great players do.
And the quickness. Maxime Raynaud, the pump fake. Ryan Agarwal steps out for 3.
He's hit some big baskets for Stanford, but that's a huge basket in this game as Merrimack just breathing down Stanford's neck.
10 for 19. The Cardinal on their threes tonight.
Well, they're playing against the zone. You're going to have to hit some, Roxy. You're not going to get all layups and second shots.
And it's last touch by Stanford. 9-point lead, and Stanford. 3-pointers have been there tonight.
Yeah, and Agarwal is saying, don't forget about me. I can do this. I can knock that shot down. That's in my wheelhouse.
Well, Bud Clark doing everything for Merrimack, and he's the reason they're in this game.
Yeah, he is, Roxy. And again, you know, he's 5'10" at best, but his ability to stop on a dime and just, you know, go straight up. He takes contacts, and he can also fade away against bigger players. But he's got a handle that you don't see very often in college basketball. Tremendous, tremendous ball handler.
9-point Stanford lead. Clark the lob and the finish. Brian Itomnu.
And he can do that too. How about setting the table for his teammate? My goodness.
First action tonight for Jaylen Thompson, the sophomore in the game for the Cardinal. Again, Stanford a little bit shorthanded. No Benny Gieler and no Darren Saran tonight. Both their day today, and the Cardinal hope that they'll have both available on Saturday for their matchup down in San Jose against Oregon.
Roxy, watch again Clark. The offhand lob. I mean, that's his offhand, and he puts it up. That's a dime for a dunk. I mean, what a tremendous effort.
Ryan Agarwal, three! Third three for Agarwal.
How good does Kyle Smith feel about that young man and the contributions he's made when the game has gotten tight? He's hit some huge shots for Stanford.
11 Stanford threes tonight. Back to a double-digit lead. Inside 7 minutes. Left open, Ty Dorsett missing a three, and Oziyah Sellers the rebound for the Cardinal. Nice pass, Jaylen Blakes, and Maxime Raynaud gets the roll.
Well, he had double duty there. He sets the screen, sheds a defender for Blakes, and then he rolls, and he's the recipient of the pass, and what could have been a three-point play. Great effort by Maxime Raynaud to get himself involved in the offense.
But Clark weaving his way to the basket and finishes.
Over Maxime Raynaud. Thank you very much. No problem, no fear, no problem. Stanford still has to score, Roxy. They can't relax here. It's still a double-digit lead, but one basket could change that in a hurry.
6th 20-point game this year for Bud Clark, and Jaylen Thompson the back tap. Oziyah Sellers finds Ryan Agarwal.
A great look by Oziyah Sellers. He's done some great things tonight, Roxy. Sellers has just made some huge plays for his team.
Matt Becht missing the three, and Maxime Raynaud pulls it down. Inside 5.5 minutes and a 12-point lead for the Cardinal. They led by as many as 19 in the first half. And a foul as Jaylen Thompson got knocked down.
Well, I like Raynaud in the high post for a couple reasons. Number one, he can shoot it from there, so you have to guard him. Number two, he's so big, tall, he can find people. He's a very good passer. Look at the pocket pass. It's an excellent pass inside to Thompson. Great look by Maxime Raynaud.
Merrimack foul on Ty Dorsett. And Jaylen Thompson is tripped to the line. He's 2 for 2 from the line this year. The 1-and-1 for the Cardinals. They're in the bonus. The 8th Merrimack team foul. And the rebound grabbed by Brian Itomnu.
Again, Stanford still looking for that stop. They'd like to pull away here, but they better do something with Mr. Clark.
Good recovery defensively from Stanford as Itomnu to the basket, the scoop, and on the offensive glass, Bud Clark and one.
Roxy, how does that happen? You're the smallest player on the floor, and you find a way to anticipate a missed shot. He goes up among the Giants, out-leaps everybody, scores it, and gets a foul.
First trip to the line for Clark. He's 89% this year. And a chance for Merrimack to cut into single digits.
Yeah, that might be my only criticism of Clark, Roxy. He shoots at 90% from the line, but he doesn't get there. So, but he's so good at creating space, there's just not a lot of contact there.
And he nails the free throw. 24 for Clark. And what's amazing about his 24 points, It's on 16 shots from the floor. 4 fouls, by the way, on Ryan Agarwal now. And it's poked away, and Clark came away with it. Devin Savage missing a 3, and the rebound, there's Oziyah Sellers for Stanford.
Yeah, Merrimack didn't quite look settled on that possession. They had numbers, Roxy, but they were in a hurry and didn't space properly. Now Stanford with a chance again to pull away into double digits. But the zone is, you know, been pesky, continuing to be pesky. Raynaud's looking for lobs, Roxy. He'd like to get one over the top. He's open on the block.
Jaylen Blakes denied, and he's out of bounds. It belongs to Merrimack. As coming over defensively, Brian Itumnu, who leads Merrimack in blocks this year, adds to his total. Stanford by 9. 4 minutes remaining in Maple.
Time out on the floor. The score, Stanford 69.
Four minutes to go. Stanford trying to end Merrimack's 4-game winning streak, and the Cardinal looking for their 3rd straight win. And Stanford leading at 69-60. Stanford trying to run their record to 9-2 if they can finish off the Warriors here tonight. And then the Cardinal down at the SAP Center in San Jose on Saturday will hook up with a former conference foe, Oregon. Dan Altman's Ducks on Saturday.
That's a
at
huge
the Shark
game,
Tank.
a huge game, but I can tell you this, they better not look past this Warrior team. That game will come when it comes, but they've got their hands full with the Warriors here. And this team's just won 4 games, Roxy, and they played one of the better schedules. You know, so you've got to respect this team, and you got to guard him, and you also better respect Mr. Clark with the ball here. He is a phenom with the basketball.
Here is Clark, 24 points, 3 assists tonight. Off a high screen and a deep 3, Matt Becht, too long, but the offensive rebound, Merrimack with it. And there's Bud Clark inside, get to the cup.
And he might have got fouled too, Roxy. Stanford fortunate, no foul call, but you know, they've got to get back now. They got to try to put some pressure on Merrimack to get a score and then get some stops.
Chizimakpara left it short, and Ryan Agarwal can't control it. Here comes Bud Clark out of the pack. Devin Savage missing a three, and Maxime Raynaud rebound number 13.
That would have cut it to 5. That's a big break for Stanford. Give Stanford credit. They at least hustled back in transition and snatched up and secured the rebound.
And an offensive foul on Blakes. Out top, third on Jaylen Blakes.
Well, you can see it. That's the push off and the contact. Kyle Smith not debating that call. Again, Stanford has to continue to play, Roxy. They need to stop. 2.5 to go, 2:40. There's time on the clock for this Merrimack team.
Step back, Bud Clark. And Oziyah Sellers flies through the lane for the rebound for the Cardinal.
That's a good challenge by Stanford. That's the one thing you can do. You've got size advantage, but challenge up, not out.
Chizimakpara spins off. Maxime Raynaud pulls it out of the crowd, and a fresh 20 for the Cardinals.
Yeah, huge offensive rebound by Raynaud.
Ryan Agarwal missing from the corner. Last touch by Merrimack.
Well, Bud Clark wants him to review this one. You know, he's feisty. He said, let's get a review, and they can review it.
We're inside the final 2 minutes.
I don't know, a heady call by Bud Clark. I mean, you know, you got the luxury of doing this, Roxy. It doesn't hurt.
So Greg Nixon, they will take a look at the monitor as Greg working with Chris Merlot and Jenna Raynaud, our 3 officials tonight. Assigned by the
call
ACC.
on the floor is Stanford basketball. It's under review.
Thank you, Greg.
Yeah, I like this, Roxy. Fans sometimes don't, because you say it stops the flow of the game, but you don't want to give a team a ball when it's not their ball. You want to get the call right. These calls are crucial, and I like that you're able to do this. So Stanford hoping that the call will stick.
Again, the ruling on the floor was Stanford ball. It was last touch by Merrimack. And it did appear right there at last touch, Sean Trumper of Merrimack, number 40 in blue.
Yeah, and again, Roxy, for our viewers, it's got to be overturnable, meaning it's got to be obvious. It can't be close. It's got to be something that's really strong in terms of having to overturn a call that stands. It's been
Needs to be definitive.
It's definitive, yeah. And I don't think that's, as you just said, definitive. So we'll see if the officials think like we think.
I don't see this getting changed. And right there you see the hand of Trumper.
Yep.
And that's who it appeared to go off of last, which would mean a Stanford ball in the baseline and 20 on the shot clock should the call either stand or get confirmed.
Now they're on this longer than I thought. I thought this would be a kind of quicker one, but you know, in all fairness, to their credit, they want to get it right. So 3 officials, there's always a tie that can be broken. 2 see it one way, one see it one way, other see it, and then the third one has to break the tie. They don't have Secaucus here. I mean, we got to, you know, this is not on the master board. Officials in the NBA, you know, you got master, you got this all over the country, but here it is, and they're
Stanford ball.
Yeah. Yeah, they're calling white ball. I think officials pointed the wrong direction, because Merrimack said, wait a minute, you pointed this way.
And again, 20 on the shot clock for the Cardinal. They swarm Agarwal, and Kyle Smith calls timeout before they can get the trap on.
Roxy, that's a good timeout, because there was going to be a trap. And so you call it before the turnover, potential turnover. That's smart. Coaches now can call their own timeout. So very opportune timeout by Kyle Smith to talk about this and try to keep it out of the corners.
Timeout leaves Kyle Smith with 1. Merrimack has 2, a 30 and a full. Possession arrow favors Stanford. And the team fouls 8 on Merrimack, 5 on the Cardinal. And personal foul problems, nobody with more than 3 for Merrimack, while for Stanford, Ryan Agarwal playing with 4.
Well, you're Stanford here, Roxy. There's just one order of business. Get the ball in bounds. Do not turn it over. Keep it out of the corners. And try to get up a good shot, percentage shot. And if you don't hit it, get back on defense. You still have a lead. You're up 7. You're in good shape. But don't turn it over. Don't give anything that would fuel the fire for Merrimack.
Oziyah Sellers spots up. Had a clean look. Bud Clark the rebound. And the diminutive point guard races up the floor. Clark off balance that time, and Stanford finally got to him.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of numbers. You're right, Roxy. They got back with a lot of numbers. There were 4 Stanford Cardinals surrounding Clark on that last possession.
Chisholm Okpara, and it spins out after a beautiful feed from Maxime Raynaud. Devin Savage had a good look at a 3. Chisholm Okpara the rebound, approaching a minute to go, and Stanford in no hurry.
No.
Despite the Cardinal missing their last 6 shots from the floor.
And they're going to try to exhaust some time here if they can.
Ryan Agarwal cuts to the basket. Maxime Raynaud fouled on a putback. And with 47.5 seconds remaining, Raynaud will shoot 2.
I like the action here. You can see the cut. Stanford doing a really good job of now spacing and then cutting.
3rd on Brian Etumnu. And Maxime Raynaud, who is 4 for 6 from the line tonight. 13 points, 16 rebounds for Raynaud.
Yeah, we say this might be an off night. You know, how many players go for 13, 14 and those rebounds on an off night, on a good night, let alone an off night. So Raynaud makes his, Maxime makes his presence known in every game he plays.
One for 2 for Raynaud. Bud Clark, and he goes inside and 1. Bud Clark again.
He's telling everybody at home, don't go away, don't turn this game off because it ain't over. And look at this move, Roxy. How high does he sky to go over the top of the big fellas of Stanford? Big time move.
Ryan Agarwal fouls out. With 37.4. Clark, who is tied a season high of 28. He had 28 against UTSA earlier this year, and his career best is 30 last year against St. Francis.
Yeah, you can see how he just gives teams fits the way he can score it, and that's a rare miss from Clark.
And now Merrimack's going to have to foul, and they do.
Now that's what they have to do is, again, 2-possession game. You don't let time go off the clock. If it has to be a parade to the free throw line, it's so be it. But you have to make Stanford convert their free throws and maybe only convert 1 and change a 2 for 1 or a 3 for 2.
Second foul on Matt Becht. And Jaylen Blakes, the double bonus, shooting 2. 78% foul shooter Blakes. 15 for Jaylen Blakes tonight. Along with 7 rebounds, 5 assists. And he hits both free throws.
Now, nothing's been easy for Stanford tonight, Rock. They played well, but the problem is Merrimack's played well.
And a foul. And that will put Merrimack into the bonus, so 1-1. That's the last thing Kyle Smith wanted to see.
Now, he was upset because in the timeouts, you go over this, these are game situations. You say, look, you're up by 6 or 8. What's rule number 1? Don't foul. And he's upset that his team did.
One more for Bud Clark. Now a season high 29.
Yeah, you say, well, maybe you double team Clark, get it out of his hands, but he's so good. He's pretty hard to corral, Roxy. So there's a timeout by Merrimack. They're going to talk about that. They've cut this lead again. and they're going to hope that they can get just a couple more opportunities with maybe some Stanford misses or a turnover. But it's got to be quick because you don't have a lot of time left.
Career high tying 30 now for Bud Clark. And Stanford with a 6-point lead.
You know,
24.6 remaining. Each side has one timeout.
Yeah, at this point, sometimes, Rox, you got to play the foul game, and you got to know from scouting. You got to know from scouting who your free throw guys are, and so, you know, if you got some people that maybe are down on the free throw chart, percentage-wise, you might have to give up an early foul and put those guys at the line. So let's see if that's part of the strategy that Joe Gallo implores here.
And this is where the absence of Benny Gieler or Darren Saran really hurts you. They're good foul shooters and an extra ball handler on the floor.
Yeah, no, good point. You forgot that they were down here.
Long pass ahead for Maxime Raynaud, and they foul him with 17.3 remaining.
Yeah.
The third on Matt Beck.
Really smart play, by the way, from Maxime. He thought about making the pass to a cutting teammate, Stinson, underneath. He just went to a Stinson and said, look, wasn't sure. And so if you're not sure, keep the ball in your hands and shoot some free throws. Don't turn it over. Don't think that somebody's open. Know they're open, or hold on to it.
Now it's a 3-possession game. As Raynaud hits the first. One more. 6 for 9 from the line tonight. And now 16 points for Maxime Raynaud. Bud Clark. The scoop, the roll, a career best 32. Timeout Merrimack.
Yeah, you know, what's your answer? Because he takes it right to the heart of you, and you don't want to foul him to stop the clock, but he's able to get his shot off. Just an incredible performance, Roxy. We've had a chance to see many guards come in here and play. Very few have put on the performance that Bud Clark has put on, and Stanford knows they've been in a dogfight.
So Adam Bud Clark, 32 points tonight.
I mean, he shows you the ball, he scoops it, and he whirls it, and they just gets it off. He's got tremendous touch off the glass. But Stanford's, you know, done a pretty good job. They've played inspiring basketball, even though with a 10-day layoff, they've shot the ball extremely well. Most teams don't come out of a 10-day layoff, Roxy, shooting the ball the way Stanford did, so that's a good sign. It means they were at least in the gym getting shots up.
8.4 remaining in a Stanford ball and a 6-point lead. And again, next up for Stanford, Saturday down in San Jose against Oregon, part of a doubleheader where Cal will play San Diego State in the other game at the Shark Tank. Well,
Yeah.
Merrimack will stay here in the Bay Area, and they'll slide over to Moraga to play St. Mary's Thursday night, this 2-game Bay Area road trip for the Merrimack Warriors.
They have not shied away from playing a schedule. I give Joe Gallo credit. People say, why do you play such a tough schedule? You want to toughen your guys up. You get into league play, Roxy, these games will come back and benefit you. Believe me, Joe Gallo knows what he's doing. He's been a winner at every stop, and he knows how to build championship teams.
Jaylen Blakes will toss it in. He can run the baseline after the made basket. And Raynaud just holding. And it's out of bounds off Merrimack, and it stays with Stanford, 3.9 remaining.
Well, the outcome of the game going to be pretty much, without question, I think Stanford just without a turnover.
And now Merrimack will not foul. That'll do it. 3 straight wins. The Cardinal now 9-2, but they get all they can handle tonight from Merrimack, despite a career best 32 from Bud Clark.